The Republican Party from yesterday is dead. It is just a walking corpse. It is not fighting for conservatism and the future of America, but for its own for bringing its own people into the higher up positions. That's all it is anymore. It's not caring about you or me, it's just caring about the people behind the scenes. It's no different from the Democrats anymore. There was once a time when our politicians represented us. They're workers of the people, and now we're workers for them. Things have flipped so quickly. It's very, very unfortunate. There's a group of people that work behind the scenes, and for a long time, all the Democrats have worked under them, and the Republicans all do too. All these mainstream politicians, they all work for these group of people. These behind-the-scene elitists, you don't ever know them because they're too powerful for you to know them. They have too much influence to the point where they don't need to be known. They influence the political figures of influence on the people who influence you. It's a hierarchy. It's what it is. Hierarchy is good, but not in the form that we have now. The form that we have now is a hidden hierarchy, and it's disgusting. It hides from you who you're working for. That way they can do evil, and you can't call them out on it. That's why they stand behind these mainstream politicians. Donald Trump was the last guy that we had to fight against this. Donald Trump was not part of this system, and that's why they got rid of him in 2020. Because of, fracking, YouTube. Fracking was why he lost in 2020. You can see a similar thing happen in the 2022 midterms. Was there fraud? No, probably not in almost every state. In every state, YouTube. In every state, there was zero fraud. Zero election fraud. But there was something else interesting that was happening. The GOP was purposely throwing Trump-endorsed candidates' elections. The GOP wanted to lose because the GOP is no longer fighting for conservatism and fighting against the Democrats and the evils of liberalism, but working alongside them and getting you to vote for them, thinking that you're voting against evil while you're really voting to prop up the same evil back into society. It's no bueno. Now, there's a few candidates I want to talk about. I want to talk about Doug Mastriano and the other things that happened in Pennsylvania. I want to talk about Herschel Walker, Kari Lake, Ron DeSantis. Finally, we'll wrap it all up with how this all affects Donald Trump. So stay tuned, boys. Stay tuned. Doug Mastriano was killed in his Pennsylvania election. This is because he was underfunded and not given any airtime on any mainstream conservative show. He had no way to speak to the people outside of from himself. And without money, it became extremely difficult for him to do this. This made it so he lost in a landslide. Instead of the GOP funding Mastriano in an extremely important spot for the GOP, a spot that conservatives needed to win, they funded the New York campaign. The New York campaign was never winnable. Republicans put up an impressive show there. I mean, the red wave that was supposed to come was very evident in New York. You could see it. You could see the tidal wave. But it's New York, so nothing actually happened. The seat was not flipped in New York because, again, it's New York. Instead of funding Mastriano, a guy who I will admit is a politician, but he's a type of guy, he's an American, right? He's an American worker. He's not a guy that he's a conservative. That's what I'm trying to say. Doug Mastriano is still a true conservative, and that's why the Republicans refused to fund him, because the Republican Party is evil, the GOP is evil, and so they refused to fund true conservative guys, true guys that actually want to fight for America and fight for the future. They give it up to the liberals instead and fund guys who will fight for the liberals while pretending to be on our side like a bunch of little cowards. Now, we also lost the Oz election by a little bit less, but the Republicans completely abandoned Pennsylvania because they knew that Donald Trump was Pennsylvania is somewhere that he needs to get, and he was supporting the Pennsylvania guys. So the GOP, they threw the Pennsylvanian vote, where we lost in both the elections, both the midterm elections, with Oz and Mastriano. Now, the next candidate I want to talk about is Herschel Walker. Now, Herschel Walker is in a spot where he should be able to win on the runoffs, but by how we've seen elections go in the last 4 years, or 2 years, I guess would be a better way to put it, we don't know anything. Like, the libertarian vote you'd expect to fall to the Republicans, but this is 2022 America, so you really have no idea. He could lose, he could win. It's the runoffs, we'll have to see. But he's another guy Trump endorsed that it's extremely important for the Trump campaign that he wins, just because he's a guy that Trump endorsed. It looks bad on Trump if people don't want to vote for his candidates, and that's why we saw what happened in Pennsylvania happen, because it's putting down Trump-endorsed candidates. Herschel Walker's another guy that, with a little bit better of a campaign and a little bit more help from the GOP, should have been able to win Georgia without much competition, but now he's on a runoff. Next up here, we have by far the saddest situation we saw in the midterms. The election that mattered more than any other one, and that was Arizona, Kari Lake. Now, Arizona, there's some interesting things that were going on there. Voting machine malfunctions, the vote not being counted for, like a week and a half. It was truly terrible down there. And you had Katie Hobbs, her opposition, running the whole thing. Now, Republicans need Arizona in 2024 to win the election. And with Kari Lake losing, we all know the election process is not going to be improved there, so Arizona is a place that we are not going to see fall for Republicans in 2024. Hate to break it to y'all, maybe some of you had some hope, but Arizona is going to vote blue in 2024 because of what happened here. Kari Lake was the best candidate in this election. She could have been the very best, easily. She understood the assignment. She was the female Donald Trump, as many were propping her up as. She was a wonderful, wonderful candidate. She was a non-politician. She was the Donald Trump type. She was a type that wasn't going to be controlled, and she lost because of that. They took her down because she's an actual threat to the system. True threats are taken out. That's what happened to Trump in 2020. That's what happened to Lake in 2022. Finally, for candidates that were up for election in the 2020 midterms, I want to talk about Ron DeSantis. Now, his story is a little bit different from the 4 previous candidates that I spoke about. Ron DeSantis won, and he didn't just win. He won by 19 points. And this has people propping him up for President of the United States in 2024. They want him to run. Now, people who actually understand this realize why this is a little bit of a problem. I want you to pay attention to the people who want him to run. It's the Bushes. It's the Fox News. It's even the CNNs of the world. They're the ones that want Ron DeSantis to win. The GOP, the guys that, like I just told you all, threw multiple elections just to get Trump out of office, they want Ron DeSantis to run. He's their guy. He's the lifelong politician. He's the guy that can be controlled again. He's the guy that you put in office. He's going to be no different than Joe Biden. He's just going to say a few words that y'all like, and you're all going to cheer. You're all going to get all excited because he's going to be like, yeah, we're not going to let any boys into the girls' bathrooms. Which, is it a bad thing? Absolutely. We don't want that happening. But that's not why America is dying. It's a result of America dying, but there's a bigger picture that needs to be covered, and Ron DeSantis is just going to go up and say that those things are bad. Nothing's actually going to happen. Nothing's going to change, and America will still be degenerate if he wins. Donald Trump, on the other hand, He gets things done. He gets the people rallied. He gets them angry. He gets them fighting for their country. He gets them filled with American joy and pride. He will make actual change. He will fight against the degeneracy in the country. That's what Carrie Lake promised to do. That's why she lost, because they didn't want that. That's why the GOP, at the very least, threw her election. What else happened? It's up to you to decide. But Ron DeSantis had the opposite effect of all these other candidates. That should tell you something about whether you want him running or not, whether he's your guy. The system propped this man up. They overfunded him to overinflate his election numbers, to get more and more votes on his side, so he looks like a better candidate than Trump. He won by nearly 20 points with this effort. And Ron DeSantis, look, he was a good governor. He's what we want for governors. He made Florida red. He did some good things, right? I don't hate Ron DeSantis, but I know if he gets into office, that's the true death of America. That means that we will never, ever, ever see another Donald Trump in there again. That means that politicians will win the day, the elitists win, they have no one to fight against them. That will be the death of America if Ron DeSantis is in office. They don't want Donald Trump in because Donald Trump can save this country. Donald Trump can bring it back to the people. He can bring back true conservatives. And that's why Donald Trump is still our guy, and do not let the midterms fool you. Now that's going to be about it for today's video. I hope y'all enjoyed, subscribed if you learned a thing or two. But yeah, I have another video on the Ron DeSantis Donald Trump fiasco I put out a few days ago if you're interested in looking into that. It's not a deep dive, but it's a little deeper than I got into this video, and I'm planning on making another one at some point. So yeah, like and subscribe if you enjoyed. God bless y'all and peace out. God bless America.